Let's talk about books that are impossible to put down. I'm talking all-consuming binge, ignoring your family, your friends, sleep, all your responsibilities, everything, until you can finish the book. Okay, maybe it doesn't have to be quite as intense as that, but you get my idea. Today, I'm going to be sharing my top 10 books or series that are impossible to put down. Now, this is not my overall top 10 books. I'm not really judging these by quality per se. It's more so just how binge-worthy they are. And what do I mean by binge-worthy? For me, what makes a book binge-worthy is tight pacing, a gripping and well-structured plot, and characters that you can't help but root for. Some of these recommendations are going to be quick standalone reads that you can devour in a single day, and others are going to be series that'll keep you invested and addicted to the page for weeks. Speaking of addictive, something else I've been addicted to recently is IntotheAm's style. IntotheAm is the sponsor of today's video, as well as the brand that's responsible for keeping my wardrobe packed with different options so I can express myself on the daily. I'm not even joking when I say that half my closet is filled with IntotheAm clothing. They've been one of my favorite brands to work with for a long time now, and I genuinely love the quality of their clothing and like the fit and everything, and I believe in their brand. And not only do I think you're going to like their clothing, I also think that your dad will.
What?
Which is why I'm really excited to share their current Father's Day sale. You can get up to 40 to 80% off their Father's Day clearance sale and an extra 10% off using my link below. IntotheAm has quickly become my go-to. They blend quality and comfort and genuinely awesome designs. This is one of my favorite shirts. I also wear their jogger pants like all the time when I'm editing videos. They're so comfortable. Also, their all-day pants are really comfortable as well. So if you're stuck on what to get your dad this year, IntotheAm is a no-brainer. It's a great fit, great feel, and it's on sale. And hey, even if you don't have a dad in your life, you can still use the coupon code. I'm not gonna tell anybody. These tees are perfect for any occasion: Father's Day, graduation gifts, or even just a you deserve it moment. Like I said, I've been working with IntotheAm for a while now, and I love everything they put out, whether it's their hoodies or their graphic tees, their all-day pants, their joggers, even their underwear. Make sure to use my link in the description to get an extra 10% off during their Father's Day sale, and a huge thank you to IntotheAm for sponsoring the video. Now, starting off, number 10 is a book I really enjoyed, but I would say it's a good book, not exactly a great book, but I would still recommend it, and that is Dark Matter by Blake Crouch. This is undeniably a difficult book to put down. It is a sci-fi thriller race against time. And one thing that makes it really bingeable is just the prose itself isn't that complex. It's very easy to get into. It's kind of like a popcorn book that you can just get lost in. I actually listened to the audiobook for this one on a road trip, and it kept me entertained the whole time. I did have like some nitpicks here and there. The ending wasn't exactly what I wanted, but I still think it's a really just great thriller book if you can kind of shut your mind off a little bit. So what is Dark Matter about? I'm gonna tell you. It follows Jason Dessen, a physics professor from Chicago. He's happily married, and he and his wife have a teenage son, and they're financially well off. They're basically living the perfect suburban life. But everything changed when the Fire Nation attacked. Wait, that's not. Everything changes when Jason is kidnapped by a masked man and brought to an abandoned power plant and then injected with an unknown substance. He awakens to find himself strapped to a gurney and surrounded by people in hazmat suits and a man who he doesn't recognize who says, "Welcome back." Basically, in the world that Jason's woken up into, it's not the same one that he remembers. He's no longer married to his wife, his son was never born, he's not a college professor, he's like a celebrity genius. And from here on, the novel becomes Jason's breathless, desperate attempt to get back to his family and get back to the reality that he knows. He travels through various parallel worlds, some of them uncanny and dangerous, and others just slightly different than the one the original one he came from. And that's basically the main premise or synopsis of the novel. It definitely dives into like the roads not taken, the consequences of our decisions, and how even the trivial decisions form who we are. I will say that a lot of the stakes of the novel kind of hinge on how you feel about Jason wanting to get back to his family. I felt like his wife and his son lacked a little bit of character depth, but eventually it worked for me. I felt invested. I felt invested in his journey to get back to them. I feel like this book was very overhyped online, but also it got a lot of unfair criticism as well, and I don't really understand that. This book isn't trying to be high art, guys. This is just like a thriller action book that is really fun to read. In order to be so concise, it does have to cut down on some of the other character growth, and like some of the universes he goes to he doesn't explore them a whole lot in depth, but it just kind of works with this type of story. It's a thriller, it's fast-paced, there's a lot of twists and turns, you're constantly questioning things. I don't think this is like a top tier 5 out of 5 book, but it's definitely one that kept me glued to the page, and I can't say that about a lot of books. I had to figure out what was gonna happen next, what was going on, and there's still moments of this book that I think about to this day. So obviously I would recommend reading it despite some criticisms I have. I still think it's so entertaining, and that is why it is a binge-worthy book. I haven't read anything else by Blake Crouch yet. I've heard that Recursion is really good. Let me know if you have any recommendations. Next, we have the Southern Reach Trilogy by Jeff Vandermeer, starting with Annihilation. This is one I wouldn't say is necessarily super fast-paced. It's just a very short read, and there's so much mystery to it that you want to keep reading it to the very end. So, what is it about? I'm going to give you a spoiler-free synopsis. Annihilation follows 4 women: a biologist, an anthropologist, a surveyor, and a psychologist, who were all chosen to go on an expedition to an area termed Area X by the government. And this is a place that's mysteriously overtaken by all kinds of flora and fauna, and there's strange phenomena that go on there. And basically, they've sent out previous expeditions to Area X, but sometimes people don't return, and when people do return, they seem to not have all their memories, they don't remember how they returned, and also they're just acting kind of weird. And we're following this group who are exploring Area X, and they come across a strange tunnel or tower. That's all I'm gonna say about it. I think the less you know, the better, but the main premise kind of sold me on the novel. But then what I didn't realize is that the ambiguity of this book is kind of the main feature. You're not gonna get all the answers, so don't go into this book expecting to have the answer to everything. Not having all the answers is kind of what makes it so great, actually. This is a very atmospheric book. It did take me a while to get into, I would say. The main protagonist of Annihilation, I couldn't really relate to her that much. I think other people would, but I didn't find her that relatable, and also some of the flashbacks kind of took away from, I feel like it was just a pause in the main mystery going on in Area X. I wanted to get back to the expedition team. So there was a few things that kind of slowed it down for me, but even then, it's such a quick book, and there's this really unsettling quality and this mystery to it that makes you not want to put the book down. It's like you're being hypnotized by Area X itself, and you just have to keep on reading, and thankfully, I really enjoyed the ending of Annihilation. I think if I didn't have a lot going on when I started this book, I probably would have read it in a day or two, so it's definitely a binge-worthy book. Now, I don't think that this series is going to be for everyone. I feel like it's a very specific demographic that's going to enjoy this one. It's not exactly sci-fi, it's not just horror, it's a genre called New Weird. Now, thankfully, I actually really like that genre. I love Perdido Street Station, Gog Magog. I know that Vandermeer has written a lot of New Weird books, so I want to read more by him. Let me know your recommendations. It didn't get quite as crazy weird as I was hoping it would get, but it was still just such a fascinating book. Like I said, I really like the ending to it. And if you enjoy Annihilation, there's 2 more books after that one. This is a bind roundup of all 3 books. It has Annihilation, Authority, and Acceptance. I haven't watched the movie yet. I should probably do that soon. Let me know if you've read Annihilation. The Devils by Joe Abercrombie is next. This is a brand new series by Joe Abercrombie. I thought The Devils was going to be a standalone. I've been excited for this book for a long time, ever since it was announced. Somehow it slipped past me that this is a start of a series. I didn't know that, so now I'm very excited to read the next books. More Abercrombie is always best, and this is proof that Abercrombie never misses. While this has the same razor-sharp dialogue and character work and bloody violence that you can come to expect with Joe Abercrombie, it also has a bit more of like a light-hearted side to it as well. It's got themes of like redemption and found family. I thought this was a great book. Then I looked on Reddit, and apparently a lot of people got a ton of criticisms for it, and I don't know where you're coming from. I understand having criticisms for a book, but I feel like some people are unfairly judging The Devils. They're comparing it to First Law. I have a few criticisms I would mention, but this is still a really solid book, so to say it's not, I don't understand. I guess everybody has their own opinions. Listen, I am a massive fan of Joe Abercrombie's First Law universe, and going into this one, I made sure to kind of lower my expectations a bit. I wasn't expecting something that was had so much depth and vastness to the universe as First Law, and I'm glad that I did lower my expectations, but at the same time, this kind of surprised me because it is the same, it's Abercrombie's quality. The Devils might not be as intricate as the First Law, but it is a very fun book. It's also very, very funny, and not in that typical Marvel quippy way. The dialogue is much better than that, so I don't agree with reviews that say this has Marvel humor. No, this is very distinctly British in tone. I mean, there's a lot of moments where there's banter at the most insane, inappropriate moments, and I know Marvel does that as well, but that's more like a British thing, the way that Abercrombie handles it anyway. He's got the dry wit, and personally, I loved it. Obviously, it's not going to work for everyone. I do feel like at times, I wish it was toned down a bit, because everyone is witty. Overall, I felt like it's classic Joe Abercrombie quality, but with some extra humor, and it's very fast-paced. There's still breathing room though. It's not overly fast-paced. It's definitely the most action-packed Abercrombie book we've ever had, and thankfully, Abercrombie writes action very well. He writes it very cinematically. This felt like a movie. It feels like it needs a movie, and thankfully, as you guys probably know, James Cameron bought the rights to The Devils and is going to adapt it into a movie. What? I was not expecting that at all, but I'm so excited for that. I've been wanting Joe Abercrombie to get an adaptation. I thought it was definitely going to be something First Law related, but I think The Devils is going to work just fine. I just realized I haven't described what the book is about. A lot of people say this is like a medieval Suicide Squad, and I would kind of agree with that. The main cast is absurd in the best way possible. We have a narcissistic necromancer, we have a Swedish berserker werewolf, a geriatric vampire, an immortal cursed knight, an invisible elf, a pirate, a thief, and this little group of misfits are all conscripted by the church's secret Black Ops division, the Chapel of Holy Expediency, and they're led by Brother Diaz, a wide-eyed, cowardly monk who's in way over his head. And their mission is given by none other than the Pope, who happens to be an 11-year-old girl. The mission involves escorting Alex, a street urchin who's the long-lost imperial heir to the throne of Troy. They have to travel across a plague-ridden, elf-haunted, war-torn alternative Europe while dodging mutant abominations and political assassins. It is wonderful, and it's addictive. And I really like Abercrombie's take on elves in this book. They're basically like demons, and they're trying to take over the world, and they eat humans, and from the beginning of the book, we find out that the elves are coming back. Highly recommend this one, and of course, Stephen Pacey does an amazing job narrating this one. If you're into audiobooks, I'd highly recommend the audiobook. And And then we have Jurassic Park by Michael Crichton. That's upside down. I was surprised at how much I enjoyed this book. I mean, I've always been a fan of the movie ever since I was young, but the novel has so much more depth than the film, as is usually the case, but I feel like a lot of people don't know that. A lot of people don't read the book, but if you're a fan of Jurassic Park, I would highly recommend reading the book. It holds up so well. This is actually the only book I've read by Michael Crichton, so if you have any recommendations, let me know in the comments. I know I'm probably missing out. I know he's written a ton of books. I never did read Lost World, so maybe I should read that next. Oh, this edition has Lost World. Okay, I'm gonna read that next. It was also kind of a memorable time, I guess, when I first read Jurassic Park. I found this paperback copy in a hospital gift shop when I was at the hospital watching over my mom, and that made a long trip to the hospital actually bearable and entertaining. It kind of saved my sanity that day. And I was very surprised at how short the book felt. It's a very plot-forward book, which is why I think it scratches the same itch as an action movie, and is why it worked so well on the screen. And honestly, I find that the book and the movie kind of complement each other. Where the book fails, the movie makes up for, and where the movie lacks, the book makes up for. So I think they complement each other really well. Go read Jurassic Park if you haven't yet. It's very hard to put this one down. I remember reading this like past midnight. Oh yeah, I think I finished the book at like 2 a.m. because I just couldn't put it down. And if you want a book that's completely unhinged in the best possible way, then The Library at Mount Char by Scott Hawkins is a must-read. It's like breaking open a piñata and finding cosmic horror and absurdity and brutal violence. Where was I going with this analogy? This book is strange, it's jaw-droppingly weird, it's brutal, and it's completely brilliant and very addictive. The story focuses on Caroline, one of 12 children who were abducted by a mysterious being known as Father, an ancient godlike figure who raises them inside of an infinite library and teaches them his ancient knowledge and brutal ways. Each child is assigned a specialty, like learning healing or languages or war or resurrection. And when I say children, these children, they've been through a lot. They've died and been resurrected. They've been broken and rebuilt until they're barely human anymore. Anyways, at the beginning of the book, we find out that Father has gone missing, and we just gotta figure out what's going on from there. Basically, the whole time, you're just trying to figure out what is going on. And let me tell you, the book doesn't ease you into it. Hawkins just throws you into everything. Zero hand-holding, you just gotta walk your way through the madness. It feels like you're wandering through, like, someone else's fever dream. But then things slowly begin to click into place. It's kind of a puzzle box. It rewards patience and paying attention, and each chapter of the book starts to narrow in on the tension and the mystery, and it's worth reading. Again, I don't think this is going to be for everyone. If you're not into super weird stories, then don't even bother picking this one up. But if you're an open reader and you don't mind walking through madness, then this is such an interesting read. The dual tone of the book somehow works. At times there's like this brutal, violent scene, but then right after there's something that makes you laugh, and it's just weird how well it works. There's a talking lion who's one of my favorite characters. There's a crazy tutu-wearing madman. I was gonna give some more examples, but I think that's enough. It's absolute mayhem in the best way. It's dark, it's funny, it's very imaginative, and also just genuinely moving as well. Beneath the fever dream, there's a lot of heart to this book. Fair warning though, as you might have guessed from how I've been explaining this book, it's not for the faint of heart. There's, psychological abuse, physical abuse, some very disturbing moments. So it's not gonna be for everyone, but if you can stomach that darkness, this is an unforgettable book, at least in my opinion. It's the kind of story where you never know what's coming next, and that's exactly why it's a perfect binge-worthy book. Another series that absolutely nails binge-worthy is the Murderbot Diaries by Martha Wells. Murderbot are these very short novellas that are perfect to tear through in a weekend, or you can just savor them one episode at a time. Our anti-hero is Murderbot, a corporate security unit that's hacked its own governor module and claims autonomy. Instead of staging a robot uprising, it opts for something far cozier, binge-watching its favorite soap operas and avoiding people. Very relatable, but responsibilities keep catching up. Assigned to human expedition teams across creepy, remote planets, Murderbot begrudgingly protects them from corporate sabotage, alien threats, and even worse, all while doing his best to stay under the radar. There's also a fantastic audiobook if you're into audiobooks. Highly recommend checking out Murderbot. If you want a series of short, binge-worthy novellas, there is also some full-length novels in the Murderbot series, but I actually enjoyed the novellas much more. And then we have one of my favorite books, and that is Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. As you can see, it's very short. It's also very strange. It's one of the most mesmerizing books I've read, and I flew through this one. The story follows a man named Piranesi, or at least that's what he's called, who lives in a massive labyrinthine house filled with endless marble halls, ancient statues, crashing tides, and clouds drifting through the upper floors. It's a place that's both haunting and awe-inspiring. And as far as Piranesi knows, the house is the whole world. He spends his days exploring its halls, documenting his observations, and meeting twice a week with a mysterious figure known only as the Other, who is obsessed with uncovering a secret arcane knowledge supposedly hidden somewhere within the house. It's written as journal entries from Piranesi, and this is very much a dreamlike novel. You're not sure what's going on, and Piranesi's calm and almost childlike nature just makes the whole experience even more surreal. And what makes this one so binge-worthy, in my opinion, it's not the fast pacing, it's not the twist, it's really the atmosphere of this novel and the house, the sense of wonder and the quiet dread that creeps up on you when things aren't exactly as it seems. And this is another book that's very much like a puzzle box. You're kind of discovering these mysteries and secrets alongside Piranesi. And obviously, this is Susanna Clarke. Her writing is stunning. It has this kind of melancholy nature to it. It's also very lyrical and just beautiful. I love her writing. She's one of my favorite authors. And she also manages to make this book feel deeply personal and introspective and emotional, but also strange and otherworldly. It is such a unique book. If you're a fan of The Magician's Nephew by C.S. Lewis, you might like this one as well, or even Annihilation. You might enjoy Piranesi. If you want something that feels like you stepped into a sacred dream, you need to read this one, and I guarantee you're going to be thinking about it for a long time after turning the final page. Next up, at this point, I'm sure all of you are aware of Red Rising by Pierce Brown. This one is aggressively unput-downable. It is brutal, it's relentless, and it is soaked in vengeance. This is one of my favorite series. I'm holding it upside down again. But if for some reason you don't know what it's about, let me tell you. Set in a future where humanity has colonized the solar system, society is structured around a strict color-coded caste system. At the top are the godlike golds, engineered to rule. And at the bottom are the reds, laborers mining helium-3 deep beneath the surface of Mars. And they're told they're sacrificing for the good of future generations. But Darrow is about to find out just how badly his people have been betrayed. What follows is an intense and often devastating story of revolution. Darrow is carved into something new, something monstrous, and sent to infiltrate the elite golds from within their own institutions. This first book is often said to be basically the Hunger Games, but with more like Roman inspiration. Yeah, I would say that the Hunger Games thing, it does kind of have a Hunger Games vibe to it, but there's so much more to this book, and after book 1, it really opens up into just like so much more. I'm not gonna spoil anything. Anyway, the pacing of Red Rising is absolutely breakneck. After the first like 50 pages or so, it never lets up. And what really makes it binge-worthy is what's packed into every chapter. Strategy, revolution, character development, ideology, and some genuinely shocking twists. And even though this is like a revenge story at its core, even in those darker moments, it still has a lot of great themes of brotherhood and hope. Seriously, if you've been putting off Red Rising like I did, stop it.
Stop it. Get some help.
You need to pick this book up and read it, clear your schedule, because you're not gonna want to stop after just one book. Another book I couldn't put down was The Will of the Many by James Islington. I can't stress enough how gripping this book was. From the very first chapter, it had me absolutely hooked, and I tore through this one. And you know, it's a decent sized book. It's like close to 700 pages, so don't be intimidated by how chunky it is. The pacing is so spot on that you're gonna wish it was longer, to be honest. It's set in this Roman-esque empire known as the Hierarchy, and the story builds this world where your magical abilities are tied directly to your social standing. The higher your rank, the more will you can harness from those below you. The magic is embedded in the structure of society itself in this book, which I thought was so clever. Now, it follows a man named Viz, whose homeland was conquered and whose family was executed, and since then, he's been hiding in plain sight, doing everything he can to avoid being bound to the hierarchy's oppressive system. Things take a sharp turn when he's recruited, or more so forced, into a top military academy to act as a spy for the government. And at the same time, there's this rebellious faction that's pressuring him as well, pulling him into this web of secrets and betrayal and espionage. And basically what follows is a high-stakes balancing act as Viz tries to juggle his just school duties and trying to remain undercover, as well as double allegiances, political maneuvers, secret agendas, all kinds of twists and turns. And I know this one like blew up on TikTok, I guess. I didn't really know about any of that. I just picked this one up because I liked the original cover. I have that book somewhere on my shelf. And then I was surprised to see that so many other people really love this book, and I feel like the praise is justified. If you like cutthroat politics and kind of the rebellion vibes of Red Rising, this has a similar energy but with more layers of mystery. The plot is constantly building momentum, which makes it such a binge-worthy book, and I can't wait for book 2. Which, by the way, the publisher sent me in the mail this bag, and when I opened it, I had to build a puzzle, and it formed the cover reveal of book 2.
Nice.
Oh, it's falling apart, which was so cool, and I wish that I had time to put it in a video, but now everybody's aware of the cover. But they sent it to a bunch of other YouTubers as well. But it also came with a excerpt for the second book, and after reading this, I'm very excited for book 2. Excerpt. And finally, in my number 1 spot of binge-worthy books, I know this one is going to be a little polarizing, but that is the Cradle series by Will White. When I think of binge-worthy fantasy books, this is like the first series that comes to mind. Cradle is hands down one of the most bingeable series I've read. It's very hard to stop reading these books, and they're all fairly short as well. Now, the thing is with this one, I'm not putting it in the number 1 because it's the most quality. I'm not saying it's above The Will of the Many or Red Rising or any of the others I mentioned, and it's not low quality either. That's not the point of the list. It's all about readability and bingeability, which is why this one is in my number 1 spot. Each book in the series is a very quick, punchy read, and White manages to cram a lot into each novel. The characters grow in meaningful and satisfying ways throughout the series. I wouldn't say it's the best character work, but it's something that slowly progresses. For instance, if the main protagonist, Lyndon, seems a little basic in book 1, just remember, this is progression fantasy. Watching him develop from a powerless kid to an absolute powerhouse is kind of the main point of the books. And he also grows emotionally as well. I find progression fantasy to be really satisfying. And I feel like Cradle perfectly captures what a lot of modern fantasy is missing, and that's just pure high-octane fun. But it doesn't feel cheap or trashy either. It's really good at what it does. It's not everything I want out of fantasy, but it's a really nice change of pace and just something that will pull you out of a reading slump. It's kind of like Dragon Ball Z meets Kung Fu Panda, with action scenes that feel epic and intense. And I really enjoyed the supporting cast here. Shout out to Yaren. The villains as well, they're not like one-dimensional, they have depth to them. I do feel like at times, because the pacing is so fast, it can kind of gloss over some things that I wish it would spend more time on. It could have used a bit more breathing room. I will say the first like 3 books are not as good as the rest of the series. They're still really entertaining, but trust me, it gets much better. So yeah, the lightning fast pacing, sometimes, you know, I did want it to slow down a bit, but it's just so refreshing to find a fantasy series that is not padded out with a ton of just useless moments and just exposition. This is not Wind in Truth. You're not gonna have to go through a slog and then fall into a reading slump after reading this series. But at the same time, anyone looking for really deep character examination or world exploration, you might be a little disappointed. Cradle is mostly about fighting and training for fighting with a really fun cast, some really great character moments, and some really fun dialogue in my opinion. I grew up reading manga and watching Dragon Ball Z and Naruto, and I feel like if you like shonen anime or manga, this is a must-read. You definitely need to read this. But even if you're not, I think it's still worth giving a try because it is very hard to put down. And there we have my top 10 binge-worthy books. Let me know all of your recommendations in the comments because I'm sure there's a ton of books that I just haven't read that would have been perfect for this video, and I want to binge them, so let me know in the comments. Also, I have a like 5-hour video in the works right now that's gonna be up very soon. I'm so excited to finally be done with it because I'm kind of exhausted working on this video. As you can guess, it is an in-depth summary that many of you have been waiting for. So I hope you guys enjoy the video. I just wanted to give an update on that. Anyways, that's it for this video. I'll see you soon.